Hello YouTube. I want to get straight to the point and hit on the very controversial topic of abortion. I'll provide you 4 logical reasons as to why abortion is wrong and why it goes against our very humanity. My explanations are a little complex and it requires you to really focus on what's being said. So if you don't mind getting a little headache, or if you think you're smart enough to get it down, I applaud you. Before I get started, even though my arguments are more secular than anything, I'd just like to say that I feel that God's Holy Spirit has given me some discernment on this issue, and that it has allowed me to use all lines of logic to make a case as to why abortion is wrong. I'll first point out one flaw in a common pro-choice reason for believing that abortion is okay. This concerns an individual's right to their body's autonomy. You always hear a person argue that abortion is okay because everyone has an absolute right to their own body's autonomy. However, this so-called absolute right is not based on any logic, reason, or facts of human ethics. In fact, there are no absolute ethical codes of conduct when it concerns our human innate sense of morality. All of the science concerning human ethics, which includes Unitarianism, altruism, situationalism, and even evolution, tells us that moral principles are objective in a given situation. This means that we decide right from wrong based on the situation and the costs associated with the situation. This also means that there are objective moral duties and notions like negligence that hold us all liable for our actions given a situation. That's just common sense. We all know what responsibility is, or what accountability is. Therefore, a person's right to their body's autonomy isn't an absolute right, nor is it an inherent one. It is a notion that contradicts what all of human ethics tells us. In fact, we feel that we are ethically justified in placing constraints on a person's body when they present a danger to society or to themselves. In some cases, we even administer the death penalty on individuals who pose a great threat to society and have committed several heinous crimes and treasons against our society. We feel justified in killing criminals like Hitler because we know the great risk they pose on the lives of others by keeping them alive. So in these cases, we know that a person's right to their body's autonomy can be compromised when their actions are what lead to an undesirable consequence that negatively affects innocent human lives. In the case of abortion, it is the termination of an innocent human life who is no less innocent than a baby that was begotten by the actions of its parents. Furthermore, in most cases, an individual is the one who invites the chances of being pregnant with the baby by willfully indulging in the act of sex. In these cases, the baby is neither a foreigner nor a stranger to the mother's womb, as it was formed by the mother's own biology. It is doing nothing more, a fetus is doing nothing more than being in its natural habitat. After conception, a distinct human life form has been procreated, several of its genetic traits coming from its mother. The second point I want to make is that under each of the sciences concerning morality that I had previously mentioned, humanity naturally undergoes a cost-to-benefit analysis. This means that we access the costs to a given situation and see if those costs justify the means. I'm going to argue that the costs of abortion far exceed the benefits. For one thing, abortion leads to the killing of an innocent human life that's no less valuable than a child. The fetus holds all the biological genetic traits, 42 chromosomes, and DNA that identifies us as human beings. And we know they are alive because they have organs that consume, grow, and adapt. Don't mistake these biological factors as being nothing more than independent molecules in motion, but rather see them as that which makes us who we are. I'm not choosing to value mere DNA, genes, and chromosomes individually, but rather it is the complex system they form as a whole that I value. It is what programs everything that we are and everything that we can do before we can even do them. The human biology is what programs our abilities, it programs our capacities, what forms our brains will take, and even our physical form. It's like a human computer chip that comes with everything that we are. It is what makes us human beings. You have genetic traits that shape who you are today before you ever gained your current level of consciousness. It's what also programs humans to value their own species and their own human capacities. We have supposedly gone through millions of years of evolution for that programming to evolve. Okay, so going to point number 3, but By the time most abortions are done, the fetus instinctively desires to live, as we all do. Those who place value on abstract thought and consciousness and not on the human life itself simply do not know the history and science behind our ability to be conscious. Abstract thought and consciousness is a mere product of our genetic code and inherent desire to live. It is a mere evolutionary tool that was supposed to help humanity survive. Funny, since we're actually using it to create irrational ideologies that kill ourselves. Our thoughts are the product of a big bag of cells and chemical reactions. That is exactly what pro-choice people claim a fetus is to devalue it. Furthermore, mere abstract thought and consciousness isn't always valuable in and of itself. There are more useless thoughts taking place in our minds than not, most of them being self-seeking. Knowing this, one should ask themselves why a being's capacity to feel pain and to be self-aware should be the only measure that should be used to value human life. I assure you that this was not the case before we, as a human species, had ever gained our current level of awareness. Just imagine how stupid and unself-aware we were millions of years ago. Furthermore, newborn babies and toddlers aren't as self-aware as dogs, cats, or dolphins, etc., yet any rational human being would place more value on a human baby over the life of any other kind of animal despite its current level of consciousness or intelligence. This is because, like every other species, we naturally value our own kind and our inherent capacity to be human. We value our inherent capacity to be human. To not do so is to deny one's own humanity, biology, and evolution, all of which gave us a sense of purpose to begin with. So our biological capabilities are inherent in us from the time we were fetuses to now. We were just given the chance to grow and display those abilities. The last point I want to make, point number 4, is that some advocates of abortion claim that a woman should have a right to kill her baby because it depends on her body for nutrients. It should first be acknowledged that a baby can't survive on its own whether or not it is in or outside its mother's womb. Even after the child is born, mothers and fathers are legally bound to take care of their child unless they pay to transfer legal rights over to a third party. However, it's no one's obligation to take care of another person's child, and so legal obligation in the end lies with the parents. To allow them to transfer legal rights to other people is just a privilege granted by our government to make it more convenient for families in financial distress. Therefore, just like it is the legal obligation for a parent to take care of their child outside the womb, it should be their legal obligation to take care of it while it is in the womb. So it is inconceivable to believe that simply because a baby can't survive on its own, that it can be killed in cold blood. That's no different than child neglect or abuse. The real question here is whether the right to kill a human life should rest on its location and or a woman's sense of temporary inconvenience that comes with bearing a child. Lastly, we should consider what a woman's sense of inconvenience entails and whether the means of abortion justifies the ends. For one thing, a woman is only giving up at most 9 months of her time and a few days of birthing pain in giving birth to a child. On the other hand, if abortion is the option chosen, an entire human life is being extinguished. We're not talking about a chicken here, but a human life. The killing of a human life can never be justified due to mere inconvenience, and there's always the option of adoption. Both parents and children usually benefit from one another in the end, and there are several arguments as to how raising a child can be affordable, but what matters is whether abortion is permissible in and of itself. This being said, life is a beautiful thing, and people simply take for granted all it has to offer: the music, the food, the sights, the touch, and the smells. As a fellow human being, I urge you to consider what was stated here and to use your God-given conscience to find it in yourself to place more restrictions on abortion for the sake of mankind. Well, you know what, guys? No one can tell the future or what the perspective of life will be for the children who are born into this world. There are plenty of adopted children today and survivors of abortion who thank God for having survived. I think the right thing to do is to allow the babies to grow up and decide how they want to see their lives for themselves as they grow to experience it. And well, this is my argument as to why abortion is wrong. If you have anything to add to what I'm saying, or if you want to challenge what I'm saying here, then leave your comments down below. I'll be more than happy to read them if you have any substantive questions or answers. So thanks for watching.